It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all. It's time for the return, the glorious comeback of the Andy and Rem Show. Missing 2 weeks of live shows, the amount of spice that has built up in the community, it's overflowing. I can tell Remington's excited because he's not even got blinds behind him this week. So anyone who guessed in the Are Remington's Blinds open or closed game, afraid everyone's a loser this week. So let's get rid of the thumbnail and have a look at these unfamiliar settings. Hello. So, Mr. Remington,
Hello.
we're back. What's going on with your wall?
I just moved things around, and I didn't realise how boring it would look when streaming live video content. It looks really nice in the room, but you can't see that. You just see a blank wall. So I'll have to fix that at some point. But yeah, how about you, Andy? It looks like you've got a roomy room.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is completely the same room I've been in for the last 18 months, surely. Nothing different here whatsoever.
No.
You can see the most obvious thing that greets you here is the fact that I can actually hang a paint rack on the wall in this house.
Nice.
That,
Nice. What?
after going
What do you do
through...
with all your
What was that?
Where's all your miniatures?
All my miniatures are currently above my head in the loft of this house.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. And you've done a 360, haven't you? You've had a lot of big life changes going on.
Well, maybe more of a 180 rather than a 360. We don't talk about the Remington 360 on this show till the After Dark special, as you know. So
we've
yes.
both been very busy, haven't we? And there's so much to catch up on, I guess, right?
So first of all, your catch-up for now is going to be a bit more brief, isn't it? So do you want to give people the official state of the Remington address as it stands right now?
Well, I've been very busy learning, not learning the guitar, but practicing my chops, learning a lot of new material, getting ready for some shows, and I had an audition to join quite a big band. So I think that went really well. I believe it did, but I can't reveal more until more things have been confirmed. But yeah, the outlook's pretty positive, and it means that that'd just be a great gig. Put it that way, it'll be a great gig. So been busy at work as well, and yeah, just been getting on with life really. So it's been nice, to be honest, to have a little break from things, and now I'm interested to see what's going on.
Back raring to go. So it's safe to say that whatever the size of the band that you join at any point during your life, it's going to be second fiddle to this show, really, isn't it? Let's be fair about it.
Well, of course. I mean, I'm a big fish in a little pond here in the wargaming community. Obviously, once you're an A-lister, you want to stay an A-lister. But in the music game, people can forget very quickly who you are. But not in the wargaming industry, right?
Would you like to be one of those aging musicians just sitting around in a cafe or something, hoping to get recognised?
Well, interesting that you say that, because a recent survey showed that 70% of music that's currently streamed and bought, downloaded, is old music.
Define old.
Old like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting, right? There's new music that's being made. It just doesn't cut it anymore, I guess,
Now, is there any truth to the rumour that the reason that all the world's biggest bands have been clamouring to sign Remington to their ensemble is nothing to do with any of your previous musical experience outside of the show. It's entirely down to the theme songs that you've created for the segments on this very show. Is that in fact true?
It is. And Andy, you've been doing well out of the royalties of that, haven't you, really? I haven't seen a penny of that. But, you're welcome.
Speaking of doing well out of Remington, shall we have a look at my crypto situation right now?
No, don't look. Everything's crashed really badly.
Well, let's have a look. I'm going to open up the app right now. Let's see if Remington
Oh
is making me money right now.
This is the real reason why I've disappeared for the last 2 weeks.
You've been, oh my goodness. For the first time, I'm actually down below your initial investment into Andy Industries at the moment.
Well, it's lucky you didn't see it 2 days ago. You might have had a heart attack, but you might have thought, hold on, this is an opportunity for me to buy more and lower my cost basis, which is what you should have done as a prudent investor. He says when Andy's looking at crypto. But
By the way, very grateful
Yeah.
to Annie there in the chat for letting us know that apparently I was much louder than you. Well, we can fix that right now, because there's an entirely new setup here, as you can tell by the surroundings. A wall that I'm allowed to screw things into for a start tells you that this is a new place. No longer living in the heart of Squidland, as they say. So shall I give people a brief history of my life in Nottingham so far then? Because I can actually I can talk freely about the employment that I've had since I've been in Nottingham without compromising the integrity of the show as well. I'm sure people have been very interested in that, exactly what I've been doing. I can tell you it's not exciting, though, just so you know. So, let's see. Yes, lots of tears from Annie there in the chat. Sure, there's an Andy-shaped void in that house at the moment. I'll ever fill it. No amount of cactus plants, no amount of Danny DeVito cutouts can fill that void. Yes, everyone should spend lots of money at Bad Squiddo Games to kind of soothe the pain, if they like. So, round about 18 months ago or so, when I was looking for a new place to live, out reached the squid tentacle of Annie. Said, hey, why not come and live in Nottingham? I've got a room. Someone to live in it. I thought, in the wargaming hub of the world, right at the heart of Nottingham, between all the massive wargaming companies, that sounds like a great place to go and start a new life. So, went for it. Into Squidland. Annie's spare room became the Andy studio. You'll have seen on this channel quite a lot. The one wall in there, anyway, that I actually showed anybody. And I can also reveal, because I'm not currently working for the company anymore, so I didn't want to talk about it while I was working there, but I spent a good deal of time working not very exciting positions at Warlord Games, I can reveal now, people that weren't aware of that. Because I was within striking distance of lots of different companies, so when I got to Nottingham, I just shot out application after application, all the various companies. And they were in the process of moving to a new HQ, relocating everything in a very short space of time. And they were looking for people to help with the move and then potentially be employed after that. So initially,
you could work your way up the management ladder.
Well, you would think that maybe that would be a possibility, wouldn't you? Safe to say that didn't happen. But so initially there was a lot of moving of heavy things around using my manly strength and prowess as like a prime alpha male. Moving heavy boxes, heavy metal beams, building shelving and so on. So lots of very physically demanding work that obviously I'm very cut out for as a prime specimen. I expect to see lots of agreement in the chat for these last comments. Otherwise there will be trouble. And after that, I stayed there on a pretty much a part-time basis, working in various different departments, just because I need money and it's in the wargaming industry, so even doing mundane jobs for a wargaming company someone like me is a bit more exciting than doing it for just a Tesco or a post office, for instance.
But Andy, did they not realise the talent they had working in their warehouse?
Well, actually, they were fully aware because my CV did contain a long list of all my YouTube endeavours. I did have a couple of discussions with management people as well to make sure that there weren't any conflicts of interest. And I made sure not to discuss Warlord games at all on this channel, rather than talking about their products and then saying, oh, by the way, I work there, so I might be biased. I thought it would be best just to not talk about their stuff at all.
They would have liked the publicity. We've got a reach of many.
Well, they may have liked it, but I don't think they were paying me any extra to give them publicity.
Ah, so it's all about money, is it?
Yes. It is when you're trying to survive in this cold, cold world we live in.
Right.
So plenty of mundane jobs done there. And that's been the last 18 months until...
Made some friends there?
Well, since I was only there on a part-time basis, and lots of the jobs I was doing were fairly solitary there, then I don't know if I would say I made lots of friends there exactly.
Oh.
But I did have some good wargaming chats there with some of the actual wargamers that work there.
Yes.
So how many wargamers would you think? What kind of percentage of the entire staff in a company like Warlord would you say are in any way interested in wargames?
You did mention that a lot of the staff there were Eastern European that were doing a lot of the warehouse jobs.
Yes, that is true. There are a lot of people from other countries working there.
Yeah.
Very diverse.
So how many of those were war gamers? Well, it's interesting because when you got me for Christmas the Strontium dog box set, when I opened it, it says this was packaged by Esmeralda. Not really that name. I can't remember what name it was, but it was kind of,
So it wasn't packaged by Andy though.
No, I didn't see that. So Rick Priestley works there apparently. Hi, Colin. Did you bump into him?
I've never seen him at Warlord in my life. So I assume he does some work with them. I wouldn't say he actually works for them.
Andy, did you ever go up to the sort of management penthouse offices there? Maybe carrying something from the warehouse in your hand, just as an excuse in case someone stopped you. Just to have a snoop around, and if someone says, "What are you doing here?" He says, "Oh, I've got this package for Rick Priestley. I just need to talk to him." And then you get into the office, and then you just you give them the big sell, Remington Industry style. And any scenarios like that?
Well, I did move quite a lot of the stuff into like the offices for the big dogs when the move was happening, carrying very heavy things up the stairs, big drawer units, and so the big dog at Warlord would be Mr. John Stallard, who is a GW former. All these people that set up their own war games companies are former GW. So he's got obviously the biggest office upstairs. There's lots of kind of GW memorabilia type thing in place. I don't think is giving away too many inside secrets that you would expect a former GW person to have.
Did you leave an Andy 2D6 orange sort of memento in the office? Or?
I don't think so. I don't think I left anything. There's probably something orange been left there that I forgot to take with me. Maybe a pen, something like that.
So you eventually had to leave. Was there any sort of ceremony or?
Well, there was not, because actually,
don't go, Andy.
The last day I was supposed to be there, I couldn't actually go in because I was feeling slightly ill effects of the day after my booster. So I actually missed the last day I was supposed to be there.
How do you know there wasn't a big cake there and an Eastern European sort of dance party waiting for you?
Well, to be fair, I didn't know whether that was there or not. I've never found out. I also will never find out. Somebody on the staff asked me where I got my shoes from. I was thinking about buying a pair the same, so I'll never get to find out whether they actually purchased a pair of the shoes or not. Unless maybe someone sees this video and asks personally.
Well, you did get discount there, didn't you? That was one perk.
Well, they do offer a staff discount, yes. So I was able to get quite a few bolt action reinforcements.
And if you don't mind me saying, you told me that you uncovered a grand theft while you were there as well.
I didn't uncover a grand theft. I wasn't.
Juicy.
I know you're trying to make it juicy, but I don't want to just lie blatantly to the public. So, I don't think I can. I'm not going to dive too much into the legalities of the whole thing, but there was somebody on the staff that was no longer on the staff shortly after a grand scheme of theft, treachery was revealed. So,
Well, maybe we could make a role-playing adventure based on Warlord Games Warehouse.
maybe we could. But I can tell you now that Warlord management acted swiftly and promptly and dealt with the matter, and I'm unaware of whether there were any legal procedures that followed it or not.
So, Andy, what are some lessons you've learned? 3 lessons from working for a wargaming titan.
1. You should have asked me this beforehand. I could have come up with 3 lessons that I learned from working for a wargaming titan. Okay, 1. Some of the items that you would expect to be hot sellers are in fact not, and the other way around as well. Some items that you would think nobody would buy actually fly off the shelves a bit more than you'd expect. And what else? Experience. Well, I learned a valuable lesson. It's that there's no I in teamwork. That's what I learned down there in the trenches with all my fellow Warlordians. So there's number 2. Number 3.
Did you learn the value of hard work and discipline and routine?
I wouldn't go that far. I will say that one of the upper management people, the one who is kind of in charge of everything, the way the company operates, basically, not one of the big bosses, but like how would you describe the person who's just below the bosses, who just essentially manages the company?
Operations manager?
Yeah, something along those lines.
Director?
He, despite not being a wargamer, will say that he was very hard-working and often got his own hands dirty down there in the trenches. So, but get back to what I was saying earlier about how many people are wargamers. It's not actually a lot. There's a smattering of them across upper management, as you'd expect. There's a lot of people from formerly of other companies, mainly GW, and people that they know through the wargaming industry that they've brought in. And then there's a few people, like those that work in the shop, probably are very likely to have a good understanding of wargames, are involved in the hobby. Between there, not a lot. One that surprised me, actually, I don't know who the current events manager is. The events manager at the time was not at all a wargamer whatsoever, which I would find very interesting. Someone who's going to events, managing the staff at events, not being a wargamer.
Yeah, that's a job you could have done, isn't it? Your experience of, championship level tournaments and.
Well, to be fair, anytime I'm in the vicinity of a wargaming company, I could look round, say, you know what, I could do that job. I could do that job. I could do that job.
You could be that guy in the workplace that's like, yeah, I can do that.
Yes.
It's your job. Yeah, I could do that. Or even worse, you could be like, yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I used to.
And just like in any workplace, there are obviously some people that excel in their job and that just like buzz around like bees all day, just non-stop, tirelessly working. And then you'll also have people who everyone else wonders how they're still employed, just like in any other company. One or two of those in there, not going to mention any names though, don't want to throw anyone under the bus, as it were.
Well, Andy, if you could go back, what job would you have liked to
go back at Warlord?
Yeah, any job in the company, what would you take?
Well, the dream job for someone like me, though, would probably be in the video department. Creating and editing videos.
Is there such a job?
There kind of is. There's someone that does it. But anyone that's seen Warlord's video output will know that it's not the most polite way of polished.
But yeah.
So it's not something that they put a lot of to. Quite a few war games
I
companies kind of neglect that whole branch of things, don't
I read somewhere in many motivational books I've read that the best jobs are the ones you create yourself.
they? Is that actually true?
Yeah, you create, you find a need, you fulfill.
Well, I'm going to go on record as personally thanking Annie again for extending the tentacle of tenancy in Nottingham. The tentacle of tenancy, that sounds good, doesn't it? So extending that towards me, allowing me to plant myself in the centre of Nottingham, striking distance of all these war games companies, allowing me to
It's
play
fair to
lots of
say,
games at Warhammer World as well once lockdown was over.
yeah, it's fair to say you're here to stay in Nottingham. You're not going back to Oldham anytime soon.
That is true.
So
I know you're a big fan of Oldham.
there were parts of the drive in Oldham that were very pretty.
Were they the parts of the drive out of it?
Yeah, just when you're leaving.
Yes, I
So,
think I remember you saying that.
Annie says you were the best housemate. That's
That is very nice.
times. Good times through bad times, because essentially when you moved to Nottingham, that's pretty much when the lockdown started. So
Yeah, I
you know,
moved
you
kind of
kind of
mid-lockdown. So it was lucky that I had someone, a friend, to help me take all my belongings down to Nottingham. And then recently, I had lots of help moving all my things into this house as well. So shall I reveal to people? Well, in fact, let's put the Warlord Games logo up for a minute. So I'm going to stop talking about them now. By the way, if anyone has any questions about the inner workings of Warlord Games, and any questions that I could potentially dodge, that can't really legally throw them under the bus, probably a contract clause in there that says after employment ceased, you may not disparage Warlord for 18 months or something like that. I'd have to have a contract. But feel free to ask any questions. And then, the reason I have moved again to a different part of Nottingham, but not very far, is... Dun dun dun. That is Susie, the ginger that has lured me away from the centre of Nottingham to a bit more of an outskirt of Nottingham. Enjoying some nature there.
That's nice. Look at the turnaround in your life, Andy. There you go, running, got a job, you got a lovely girlfriend, you've got you got a whole new family down there. What a turnaround! And you've got another new job, haven't you? Sounds very promising.
Yes, I have just started a new job actually, which I will talk a little bit about, but I'm not going to just start heaping praise on it too much in case after a few weeks they say, actually, you know what? We don't think you're right for this role. Get out. So I'm currently working as an assistant in a pharmacy. Yes. So handing over lots of medicine to a lot of old people, let's be honest.
Wow. So you're going to be an expert in drugs and pharmaceuticals.
Well, maybe.
You know all the compounds and the what's in the things that we take to make us feel better. And interesting, man. I knew a pharmacist. They're all loaded. So maybe you're on a path to wealth there. And that.
Well, she'll see.
Will you have to take some exams and do some studying?
Well, there is a bit of a study component of it as well, which I just started doing a little bit of tonight, actually. Several elements to it, so it'll take me a while to get through all of those. But
right,
yes.
I've turned up my mic. Is that better?
I think that is better, yes.
Good.
Got a bit louder suddenly.
Good.
Okay,
right, well, should we talk Warhammer then, Andy? Because that's what people are actually here for, apparently.
I suppose we can, now that we've given those live updates, because part 2 of the Remington update coming in the near future. Find out if musical dreams come true or whether the industry will just chew him up, spit him out into the gutter like so many before.
Well, I'm very. It's not my first rodeo. Put it that way. So, my life is good no matter what. So whatever happens, it's all good. It's just all good experience. So very soon I might be doing big shows. Big shows.
Before we go
We
into
shot a promotional video, which looks really good, and I think I can show you this. I don't think any of you guys watching this will you know spill the beans, so to speak, in terms of
I wouldn't know
releasing
about
it to the
that.
press or anything. But here's an early press shot. I'll show you that much at least. You see that?
We can
Okay, showing
see,
you that,
but we
Andy.
can't see anyone's face, which is probably for the best. Otherwise,
That's
someone
good,
in
but
this chat would almost certainly be going straight to the papers.
that's the new band. You can see, very smart looking Remington there. Wonder if you can tell what band it is.
Yeah, if anyone guesses what band it is, Rem can decide whether to confirm it or not right here after he said he couldn't confirm it tonight.
So yeah, we'll see, man. It was good. It's good. But yeah. So yeah, what have I missed out on? It's not Uncle Frank, but Uncle Frank are doing a massive show at the O2 Arena on the 12th of March. So David, you got to come to that, man, because it's going to be sick.
I've just been messing with your volume a bit there because it'll be threw off all my settings that I'd set up beautifully.
It's not right. I've not joined right, said Fred. Don't be daft. So we've got some new releases. Anything tasty, Andy, that you've got your eyes on?
Well, let's find out exactly what the taste level is of this. So we've got Fury of the Deep, which we've known about for a little while, with those two new bottles in it that we've already looked at, but you get more of an idea of the contents.
Mm-hmm.
See all the models you get in there. Obviously, you get a big shark, which is a major selling point for any box. Lots of tokens.
Now, Andy, one thing I was pretty surprised at was the price point was actually seemed quite good for what you get.
So what is the exact price point on this?
I can't remember now.
You can't remember, but you were impressed by it. Why don't you head on over to the website now and have a look and tell us?
Okay, I'll be productive.
Journalist
Is it
Remington.
actually available?
I think it's available to pre-order right now, so you can tell us exactly how much it is on the site.
What's it called? Fury of the Deep.
Yes.
Fury of the Deep. £89 from Element Games.
So what's that from GW? About £110?
Yeah. £100, I'd say.
So you were impressed by that price point?
Yeah, I think so.
Starter boxes are usually decent value, though.
Yeah, right. Games Workshop web store. Let's have a look live on it. £105. If you can pick it up for like £85, £90, I think that's an absolute bargain when you consider the prices of the how much the models would cost you if you bought them.
You do get a lot in there. And the two new heroes, if you were buying them new, what would you expect to pay for each one of those this day and age?
£15?
Yeah, £15. So, yeah, the rest of that stuff, if you want the armies in there, obviously that's the most important thing, then it's always worth it for these starter boxes. If you want what's in it, then you are going to be making savings. Especially when you're factoring in rule books. Well,
do you know what, Andy? For the last 2 weeks, I've not painted anything. I've not built any models, nothing, and it's amazing how quickly you can fall out of things. And but I've managed to be productive in other areas of my life. In times in life, you have to be super focused. And I think I was spreading myself very thin. But during that time, I did manage to paint a lot of models. So I don't know. As much as I want this, and I like both armies, I love the aesthetics, love the models. It's like, is there any room in my cabinet for any more armies? And the answer is no, unless I buy a new cabinet.
I haven't been able to paint anything for a month because I've been moving all my stuff in this house and then starting
Yeah,
the new job immediately before all my stuff was even here.
yeah.
So I've got stuff out on the painting table though. Got my
Oh, so much.
got my big airship ready to be painted at some point soon, waiting for me to get a spare moment. And then I've got all kinds of dragons to paint after that,
I've got
non-stop.
so much spare stuff. I've got 3 drawers full of spare bits of this. I just think at some point I'm going to have to go back on the eBay shop. You know what I mean? If it's not going to be in my army, if it's not going to be painted, what's the point in keeping all these boxes full of random sprues and bits and bobs? You know what I mean?
Exactly, that's what I've done a lot recently as well. Just before I moved, I did go through piles of stuff and thought, okay, is this going to come with me or is this going to be stuck on eBay? I did get rid of a few things before moving,
Yeah,
just to thin the plastic herd a little bit.
got you.
We see what else is new here, because
Yeah,
it's not
that
only
dwarf
that,
looks great, doesn't it?
it
Yeah,
does.
this is having said all that, Andy. This is what I'm tempted to buy. Right? It's the I do have a penchant for my ogres, even though I sold my ogre army. This could be the beginnings of something new for sure.
Is it in?
I've loved all the Underworlds releases so far, and I've got a few of them. So
Are you entirely tempted because of the monkey? Be honest.
yeah, no, I like I like the grots. I like the goblins.
Oh, nice actually.
I was a bit disappointed with the ogre, the ogre, ogre. I would have liked a optional head option with a pirate's hat.
He also looks a bit like a
You know.
gritty reboot of Santa.
Yeah, but don't you agree? He needs to sort of point the triangle hat, or at least an option of one.
You could certainly add one yourself, couldn't you?
Well, I couldn't because I don't know how to do that sort of thing. But
Yes, you do. Wouldn't
mm,
be difficult for you at all. And the monkey, the one thing I'll say about it actually, even though it's cool, it's very, very similar to a griffhound. If you just put a beak on it, it'd be almost indistinguishable. That might be sacrilege to say that. But anatomically, it doesn't actually look that off griffhound. Okay? Still cool. Next. So, cards. Whoop-de-doo. Blood Bowl. More stuff for Blood Bowl. So, a pitch touched by Grandfather Nurgle. The Nurgle Blood Bowl pitch there.
Nurgle pitch. Oh, there's some big things happening this weekend, isn't there? I mean, I know we're going through things, but there's a big Las Vegas reveal, right?
Well, wait and see, won't we? But what do you think? What do you think is going to be the big reveal?
What do you think? Do you think they're going to reveal new stuff? Because I don't know. They've had to. It's been difficult, hasn't it, with the supply chain crisis?
You know what I think? I think it'll be a Space Marine.
Oh, of course. Yes, there'll be a Space Marine. There'll be a Stormcast Eternal, probably, won't they? Safe to say.
Yes.
There's 2 safe bets to make.
So you like the look of the Auric Flame Keeper, and
Yeah, I like his helmet.
apparently he makes Fireslayer funerals sizzle with scorching new. So that's almost like one of my intros. So let's have a look at his rules, shall we? See how he measures up. See if he is spice-tacular, hot, moist, juicy, tender, sizzling, succulent. Look. So here's a rule for him. The Flamekeeper's sacred symbol of office harness the year-gold runes of fallen warriors in order to bestow blessings of Grimnir upon their brethren. When this unit is set up, place a d6 beside it with the 1 facing up. Each time a friendly Fireslayer's model is slain within 12 inches of this unit, increase the value of the dice beside this unit by 1 to a maximum of 6. Once per turn at the start of the combat phase, if the value of the dice beside this unit is 6, say that this unit will draw upon the power of the runes of their fallen brethren. You do so, pick one friendly Auric Hearthguard Berserkers, or Volkite Berserkers unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit and apply one of the following effects to the unit. Then change the value of the dice beside the unit back to 1. Effects last until the end of that phase. So it's an ability that builds up as a result of nearby death, and then you choose to cash it in. So you can either give them a ward save of 6+. Model in the unit is slain, and that model is not yet fought in that phase. That model can fight before it's removed from play. You think you're about to get wiped out and you still want to fight, and the unit can immediately attempt to charge. Hold on, phase at the start of the combat phase, they can attempt to charge. Thing. From Near's Vengeance, add 1 to the damage characteristic of that unit's movement. So you get buffs from it. He runs around absorbing the power of dead brethren, and then unleashes that power upon the living.
Andy, do you know what I've just remembered? In the last battle we had, I forgot to do a war. So I literally could have had a free round of attacks. And I could have killed your Star Drake.
It wouldn't be like you to forget the rules.
Oh.
It's madness. I won't hear of it.
Okay, yeah. Pretty cool. Have you got any Fire Slayers? Thinking of... No?
I don't have any, but if they do merge them all into one big Dwarden faction, but it doesn't seem like that if they're doing Fire Slayers separately now.
Well, here's a prediction. I think someone's mentioned it in the comments. I'm going to mention it too. I think they're going to do a reveal about the old world.
That would be nice.
It's been almost a couple of years, hasn't it, since they first mentioned it.
That would be very interesting, actually. Obviously, us old world fanatics, old schoolers.
Yeah, that's why I've got my Hobbit army and I've got my Dwarf army still on square bases.
I didn't go into any of the rebasing shenanigans that some did. I'm sure GW didn't mind because I just bought loads of new models instead.
Yeah.
So we have a look at this guy, the Thrall Master. So they're going to show us any of his rules in here. Here we go. So, Acalian fighting stance. Thrall Masters. A personal armory to suit the fighting stances needed to best any form. They rigorously train their Namati warriors to support each attack style. Notice. Let's see if that translates into full rules then. Start the combat phase. Pick one of these following fight stances for the unit to use. Way of the Depths. Reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made with melee weapons by this unit and friendly Namati units fully within 12 inches. But I thought they were phasing out lots of the re-rolling of 1s from the game. Getting back in here. Wave the Riptide of the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a melee weapon by unit. Inches 6, scores 2 hits instead of 1. And
nice.
Wave the Vortex, subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks that target this unit and friendly Namati units wholly within 12.
Good.
But mostly cool stuff. Some of that is the kind of stuff that you often see rolled into the rules for existing units, particularly with Stormcast. Simpler army to play. And then in these other armies, you have to get those effects granted to you via auras. So it makes it a little bit more complicated.
Counter. I'm sure if I put Wave the Vortex, you'd just probably counter it with Finest Hour, wouldn't you, or something? So kind of wouldn't really make any difference.
Okay, so there's a bit of rule spice there. So a couple of heroes that look like they're just buff heroes, which is fine. Both those armies have already got some troops. They could do with some more units. Especially Fire Slayers. They've been out for so long now. They haven't really had any new big units. They've had new heroes.
Maybe they've got no ideas, you know?
Why can't they have like mini, like baby Magma Droth cavalry? Why not?
Oh, yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not a lack of ideas. I'm sure it's just a lack of will. Somebody up to put effort into something that isn't Stormcast or the new army they're working.
Hmm.
unfortunate. Because if you look back to Warhammer Fantasy, there was no one standout race that dominated. I don't even remember particularly one race being known as outselling all the other few. Which was obviously a problem financially for them, by the looks of things, since they chased after the 40k model with the Space Marine, creating the Stormcast in the first place. Obviously, they want one, like the poster faction, don't they? They want
I
everyone
mean,
else built off that.
speaking of the finances, Games Workshop shares have taken a shellacking, absolute shellacking. But
Is that because we've not been
everything
on the
else
air
has.
for a couple of weeks?
It could well be, but to be honest, everything, a lot of things have. Yeah. So, yeah, Games Workshop announced they'd made some really good profits, la di da, in line with expectations. But I think they'd made something like £2 million less profit than they thought, and yeah, they were punished for that. But
What did they do? Did they just lose it down the back of the sofa?
no, it's just rising costs and supply chain crisis. Things taking longer, more expensive, delays, that kind of thing. People being off sick from COVID and endless reasons. But yeah, one thing that's interesting is that they did have a bigger boost in the income of their IP related things. So yeah, so that's more game content and perhaps more film content.
Have you been keeping up with Warhammer Plus?
Yeah, that's an interesting point because they didn't really reveal the numbers on how well Warhammer Plus is doing. I guess once we've had a full year of that in operation, we'll be able to have a look and see the kind of numbers that's generating, and from that might be able to tell what the sort of uptake it is.
I haven't had a
You
chance to
know,
look at it in the last couple of weeks.
no,
Old
me
Warhammer
neither.
Plus.
Well, there's not. They've had three more Hammer and Bolter animations, and I've started watching one. Um, But I think, to be honest, I think a lot of people that might have bought it are just waiting, and they
Wait,
might join it down the road when there's like a shed load of content on there.
waiting for more of a library to build up. Yeah, you do want
Yeah,
more a drawn out multi-part series, don't you, to hook people on these things.
yeah. I mean, Angels of Death was just amazing, absolutely amazing. That's going to be a tough act to follow, I guess, but they've got some interesting things in the pipeline. Um, yeah, hopefully it can grow, and we'll see like full film dramas maybe one day. I think some fans were like, why have Warhammer Plus? Why not just integrate it into Netflix or Amazon? You know, as if they could have a sub channel of Warhammer content. I guess it's an idea, isn't it? And then if you did that, you could open yourself up to a bigger audience. But I think Games Workshop, just want to have control over it, don't they?
I think they'd rather continue milking the audience they already have.
I think I think so. Maybe that is the way to go because if you think about what happened to Marvel, I think that the Spider-Man first few Spider-Man films weren't they owned by Sony, and down the line when Marvel grew into Disney or Disney, Disney acquired Marvel, they ended up having to make a whole new line of Spider-Man films because Sony, there was a conflict down the line. So not saying Games Workshop are going to be as big as Marvel, but they could be their own player in that game, and I suppose they just want to have control over their own stuff.
There is definitely something to be said for controlling all your own IP and your own assets, but then I think the difference with something like Spider-Man is I don't think those Spider-Man films really made character more of a household name, really, did they? I mean, they did well, but everyone already knows what Spider-Man is.
No, you'd be surprised, Andy. I think because I think comic book readership has probably gone down a heck of a lot, right? So when you bring films out, it really carries the torch to a new generation. It's like, because I work in education as well, and I see students and they're playing songs and they're playing like songs from 60s, 70s, and I'll be like, How do you know that song?" "Oh, it was on the Shrek movie. Oh, it was on this new film." So yeah, absolutely. Major Threat Miniatures, hello, he says, or, they are blatantly looking to build up a Marvel Studios affair. Give it 10 years. Well, there you go. Wouldn't that be something? Yeah.
Which
Warhammer
GW
World could be a theme park.
which GW character from their IP would you like to see a feature film based on that you could go to the cinema and watch? For me, it would be Gotrek and
Got
Felix.
yeah, that'd be amazing. Gotrek and Felix would be phenomenal. Um, there's all sorts. You could have Nagash. You could have Archeon, would be amazing. So you would almost empathize with Archeon as a priest of Sigmar, a warrior priest that gets everything taken from him and how he turns to chaos. That could be an interesting one, couldn't it? Um, Volkmar the Grim, there's one for you. Could be interesting. Or, Karl Franz. God, the lore is massively deep.
The
But
problem
then,
is, we're guessing that they're probably going to focus almost entirely on 40k, sadly.
uh, well,
And obviously, all those characters
you know,
pale in comparison, clearly.
I mean, that on its own is just a colossal world, isn't it? In some ways, it's way deeper than Marvel stuff. Way deeper, because a lot of the Marvel stuff wasn't written on the deep level, the deep sort of adult educated level, because they're comic books, right? You had graphic novels, of course, right? But yeah, how would you get if just on the fantasy tip? How would they do it with things like if you had a series and it was called Skarsnik? Would they use CGI loads? Would they use like little dwarves
I
dress them as
assume they would have
goblins?
to use CG
Do
for goblins or any of those fantastical creatures. That's the way of things now, isn't it? Or
yeah.
wouldn't it
What
be
about
amazing?
Morathi? Would be great.
Wouldn't it be
Morathi,
amazing
Morathi.
though to have goblins or one of the other more ridiculous, slightly less humanoid looking races represented with puppets, like the recent Dark Crystal series? That
Well,
would
I've
be
not seen
amazing.
that. I've not seen that, so I can't. I don't know. Yeah, you could have all sorts of takes on it, couldn't you? You could have one like that. Um, I don't know. I think almost like movies are a bit passe now. I don't think movies are fulfilling enough anymore. I think you need episodic things.
You need 50 episodes on a Netflix series rather than just a 90-minute
Yeah,
film now.
yeah, absolutely. Like when you watch a film, they just don't feel complete. They don't. You see all the corner cutting and so much left in the cutting room. Whereas if you take something like The Witcher, even that you want more. But then there's like, 16 hours of it and it's still not enough.
Can you imagine if that was just a 2-hour film? You'd be barely scratching the surface, would
Yeah, so I think films almost like they've become cheap.
And if you look at what Marvel are doing, then their films are almost like full series, aren't they? They do connect to each other.
Oh man, I mean The Mandalorians, like the production value is phenomenal. It's as good as the actual production, the special effects and the way they've made it looks just like the old Star Wars. Come on. Amazing. But I mean what other characters would you like to see?
Well,
If there was like fantasy series,
I could just name all the dwarf characters really,
that'd be
because they'd
amazing.
be the
Oh,
most
you could.
interesting ones.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Thorgrim Grudge Bearer. That'd be
Apart from,
absolutely epic.
I'm trying to think of someone that isn't a dwarf now. What about Sigvald?
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean, there's
he'd be
so many.
popular.
There's all the witch elves. There's the whole Sundering series they could bring out on how the elf race was split into two. It'd be amazing. Um.
The von Karstein family.
Oh man. Oh, big. Yeah, that'd be incredible. I mean, it's epic, isn't it? You almost think it's just you'd need billions of pounds to realise those on that level, wouldn't you? I suppose
That's where we're
animation
headed.
for the next 10 years. Yeah, I think we're looking at 10 years of more animation. But is it Eisenhorn that's coming
Apparently,
out as a Netflix series? So I don't know much about Eisenhorn. Do you?
not much.
Oh. Does anyone know in the comments? Is he some sort of 40k witch hunter?
I think that's about the gist of it.
Yeah. Peter Ancorn, how buddy? He says War of the Beard. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? How the dwarves were shamed by the high elves when they chopped the beard off the emissary, and then the dwarves
Shameful.
ultimately got their revenge, didn't they? But it was all at the under the plotting of the dark elves. Interesting.
Now,
That'd be amazing.
before we think about wrapping up this episode, there is something else people may have noticed. There is a bit of danglage in the background, which is, look at that. It's a shiny, sparkly medal. Who could be out there winning wargaming medals at tournaments? Who could possibly be doing that?
Andy, is that the glint of gold I see?
The glint of silver that you see, so it's not quite gold.
Another second place for you.
Second place at a dead zone.
So amazing, isn't it? You're getting on the podium every time, Andy.
I do have a very good podium rate, and for dead zone, I don't even play Dead Zone that much, to be honest, but I'd managed to turn up to tournaments and do quite well usually. That's nice. I think I've had 3 podium finishes in Dead Zone events over the years. That's nice.
So in case you're wondering, hey Colin, Colin says Eisenhorn starts as a Puritan Inquisitor. Now, is an Inquisitor like a witch hunter is rooting out chaos? I guess, right? In the 40k world, 30k world.
Was it
But as he gets,
Eisenhorn? Was it Eisenhorn that was represented in the Inquisitor miniatures game, the 56mm game?
I don't know.
That Eisenhorn, someone remind me. That was a cool idea for a game.
I don't know. We saw, talking of cool, when we were at Warhammer World, and sorry I couldn't be there for the last filming of the battle report, but while we're at Warhammer World, we saw one of the Warhammer Plus TV celebrities, didn't we, in Bugman's bar? And he was busy having a conversation. It sounded like a tactical conversation with someone. I said to Andy, "Should we go over and get the picture with him?" But you didn't want to do it, did you?
I did not.
It did feel a bit rude to interrupt his conversation and say, "Can we have a picture?" I'm sure he would have obliged once he'd
I'm
seen
sure
who you
they're
were.
contractually obliged to offer you pictures. Request it.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised. Probably in the contract, must smile at all times, must accept pictures with Remington.
So yeah, Andy, I mean, like it's pretty good that I've played you a number of times, and I don't know, I think I've held my own in well 1 or 2 of the battles, but I've held my own against a UK wargaming champion.
Well, they are different game systems, to be fair. We do need to go to an Age of Sigmar tournament at some point. Even if it's a doubles tournament, we should still be looking into it.
It would be funny, wouldn't it? I'd like to sort of interview people there as well. But you're not probably not allowed to take filming, are you? I think you could film people if
You
they're
could film
chatting.
as long as it's not at Warhammer World. They do run
Yeah,
tournaments in other places.
yeah. But when we went last time, I don't know if I mentioned before, there was a lot of people playing 8th edition.
Yes, there were actually. I think we talked about that on the last
Interesting.
show. There were quite a few
Yeah.
people there. At least 4 games of it.
So
Nice to see.
can we wrap up what's in the near future? Because I've mentioned stocks plummeting, crypto going crazy, inflation rising. Do you think less people have spare time, spare cash to put into their hobbies in the next 6 months to a year, Andy?
I
They're dark
think
times. It's been a dark, cold
we
winter,
could
hasn't
be
it?
heading that way, even though it's not necessarily been the wisest for everybody involved. Some people have basically been forced back to work, maybe earlier than they should have been. Everyone's kids are back at school. Everyone's getting COVID, probably from
Mm.
kids being mingling at school all the time now. And are we going to have another lockdown that could cause a surge in hobby spending again.
No.
That'd be something to look out for. It doesn't seem like, particularly in this country, the government, that would be like the final nail in their coffin. They'd probably look at it that way, wouldn't they? If they announced a lockdown.
It's strange. It's just feeling like a begrudging end to this COVID story, a long drawn out ending rather than a big party.
Time to wrap up the show. I'm going to personally head on over to the list of patrons. Thank them all, especially during these turbulent times where, of course, I've appreciated that small amount of cash that flows in from Patreon and from YouTube every now and then, of course, during these times of great uncertainty and transition for many of us. So I'm going to personally thank the following people. So, thanks to Raccoon, Kevin, Cedar, Tim, Mon, Simon, Nicholas, Brad, Guy, all of you, good job. If anyone wants to join them, being personally thanked for their financial support of this channel, which is a beacon of light during these dark and turbulent times, guiding you towards the shores of hobby, spiritual fulfillment, and away from the rocks of misery, then why not join up? And check out the other links in the description while you're at it, and like the video and all that good stuff. Maybe even subscribe to Remington if you're feeling really bored one day. Go through his back catalogue. There are some interesting videos on there from about 7 years ago or so, with you discussing Warhammer Fantasy Tactics, which is crazy to think about now that was everything that you did on your channel. The evidence is still there. Any last words for this week, now that we're back and we're bad and we mean business?
Yeah. Yeah. Keep on fighting the good fight, man. Stay in there. We've got through this, and spring is coming.
And don't forget to like that video, everybody. Okay, all that remains to be said is good night out there. Whatever you.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy